met two prophets. And the two prophets that they met was Yahya alayhi salam and Isa alayhi salam. Yahya alayhi salam and Isa alayhi salam. And as we know, Yahya alayhi salam and Isa alayhi salam are two cousins. They're actually cousins and they're related, and they were sent to the Bani Israel at the same time. They were alive at the same time, and they came with that same message, trying to remind people that the message of Musa alayhi salam before them and the message of the prophets before them. So when they met, there was the same exchange of words and praise of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but there's no mention of anything more than that. And then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he kept traveling and he came to the third heaven. And in the third heaven, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam met another prophet, and this prophet was Yusuf alayhi salam. And the Prophet ﷺ described Yusuf alayhi salam, and he said, as we've come to know in the surah, that Yusuf alayhi salam was indeed given half of all beauty. That when Allah Azza wa Jal created beauty, Allah Azza wa Jal divided it into two parts. One part was spread amongst mankind as a whole, and the other half was given to Yusuf alayhi salam specifically. So the Prophet ﷺ described Yusuf alayhi salam in the most beautiful of ways, and the Prophet ﷺ moved on. There's no mention of any interaction between them other than the words that they were exchanged and him praising the Prophet ﷺ. And then the Prophet ﷺ reached the fourth heaven. And in the fourth heaven, the Prophet ﷺ met yet another prophet, and this prophet was Idris alayhi salam. Idris alayhi salam, one of the things that people don't know about Idris alayhi salam, or very few people know, is that he was actually, he used to sew clothes and fabrics as a means of living. That was his job, his profession. And the scholars in Islam, they say this shows us that those type of works, even though today we look down upon those types of professions, these were actually the professions of the prophets alayhi salam. That Nuh alayhi salam was described as a carpenter, that he was a najjar, and Musa alayhi salam, who used to look after, he was a shepherd, and so on. So these type of things, we as Muslims, we should not look down upon them. We should never judge a person because of the type of job they do. Another benefit the scholars in Islam mentioned is that Idris alayhi salam, every time he used to sew his clothes, he used to make dhikr. He used to say Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, and so on. And the scholars in Islam, they say the benefit in this is that it shows us that regardless of the job that you have, there's always a way for you to actively remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some people, they say, I spend 8 hours, 10 hours, 15 hours at work, and I don't have time to read Quran, I don't have time to make dhikr, I don't have time to do anything in forms of active ibadah. But we have a beautiful example in Idris alayhi salam. He is doing his job, he is doing his work, yet he is remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the same time. And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam moved on, and in the fifth heaven, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam met Prophet Harun alayhi salam. And Prophet Harun alayhi salam, as we know, is the brother of Musa alayhi salam. And the scholars say he was the older brother. And he became a prophet through the dua of Musa alayhi salam. So Musa alayhi salam became the prophet, and Musa alayhi salam made dua to Allah to make his brother a prophet as well. One thing that scholars mention is that Harun and Musa alayhi salam, even though they were brothers, they had completely different personalities. Harun alayhi salam was very soft-spoken, he was gentle, he was shy. Musa alayhi salam had a different type of personality. He was very firm, and when he would say something, people would listen to him and they would obey him. And this was one of the reasons why the Bani Israel, once Musa alayhi salam was still there with them, they wouldn't disobey him openly. And it was only once Musa alayhi salam went away for that period of time that is mentioned in the Quran, and he came back, that they started worshipping the ijl, the calf, and they fell into the shirk. So scholars, they say this shows that the character of Musa alayhi salam and Harun was different from each other. And another side benefit is that when Musa alayhi salam came back and he saw that these people had committed shirk, and he blamed Harun for it, Harun came with an excuse. He said, "Oh, the brother of my mother, لا تأخذ بلحيتي ولا برأسي." And he said, I was afraid, the reason why I didn't intervene was that I was afraid that أن تقول فرقت بين بني إسرائيل, that he would say you came to cause a rift between Bani Israel. And when Musa alayhi salam heard the reasoning of Harun, he became soft, he became gentle again. And this, the scholars, they say, the benefit in that is that it shows us that if a person has a record, if a person has a record of being good throughout their life, that they are known to be someone that stands up for good, that wants good, that helps people, if they make mistakes here and there, then it is wajib for us as Muslims to accept those excuses when they present themselves. Meaning that we should not come down as heavy on people that have proven themselves, as opposed to other people that are always out to do mischief. If they keep doing that, then the person that is in charge has the right to discipline those people, make sure that they don't create that mischief again. But the benefit here that I'm mentioning is that Musa alayhi salam forgave Harun for not intervening, because he knew that Harun alayhi salam was someone that loved khair, that loved goodness, and he did not hold him accountable for that mistake that he made. And then the Prophet ﷺ carried on traveling, and in the sixth heaven he met Musa alayhi salam. And Musa alayhi salam, when the Prophet ﷺ was leaving that heaven, it is mentioned that Musa alayhi salam started crying. He started crying, the Prophet of Allah, Musa alayhi salam, started crying. And when the Prophet ﷺ asked, why is Musa alayhi salam crying? Musa alayhi salam, he said, you are the Prophet that has a greater ummah than myself. You are the Prophet that will, on the day of judgment, that will come with a greater ummah than my ummah. And the scholars in Islam, they say, the lesson here is that it shows us that in Islam, when it comes to competing in good, it is permissible. Allah Azza wa Jalla says in the Quran, فَاسْتَبِقُوا الْخَيْرَاتِ فَاسْتَبِقُوا الْخَيْرَاتِ, meaning compete when it comes to good. And it is permissible for you to feel a slight sadness within yourself if you see someone else doing more good than yourself. And this is not hasad, this is not having ill thoughts or envying other people, but this is something that is good actually, and it is something that helps a person try more. That if you see a person praying all the salats in the masjid and you only pray a few salats, it should make you feel bad, but also you should try to be more like that person. You should try to increase, and there should be that type of tanafus, that type of competition. So the Prophet ﷺ carried on, and when he reached the seventh heaven, the Prophet ﷺ met Ibrahim alayhi salam. And the scholars in Islam, they say, in a general sense, the way that the prophets were found in the different levels of Jannah, this shows us how virtuous they were, one being above the other, and this is just in a general sense. And Ibrahim alayhi salam being at the highest level shows that he is the one that comes after the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam in terms of virtue. That the Prophet ﷺ is the one that is closest to Allah, and then after that it is Ibrahim alayhi salam. And then the Prophet ﷺ carried on, and when they reached the Prophet ﷺ and Jibreel, they reached a place known as Sidratul Muntaha, the furthest limit. Jibreel alayhi salam said to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, "This is as far as I can go. This is as far as I am permitted to go." And he said in some narrations, if I go beyond this point, then I will burn up.